America is one of the largest contributors to global warming, and New York City, the emblematic heart of America, is paying that price. New York City's train stations have experienced flooding upwards of 80 times last year, and that number is only going to get larger.
Can I ask your name?
MTA will find out now. I'll just give you V. V-E-E.
V is a train station conductor for the MTA and has been for years. She's choosing to stay anonymous so that she can criticize her job without losing it.
The tunnels, they're reinforcing them. But nothing's going to stop a natural disaster. I mean, it works for now, but anything can happen. I don't put all my eggs in one basket when it comes to MTA.
The very station that V and I are standing in got flooded desperately in September. Water poured from the walls like a punctured balloon, and commuters just had to duck.
But if we have another superstorm Sandy, that is kind of worrisome because you don't know, these structures are old, over 100 and something years old. Nothing is guaranteed. But I hope whatever they're doing to reinforce everything, I hope it's a lot stronger than what it was. And I just hope the MTA will be a little more prepared because it caught everybody off guard. And the damage that it did, things can't be fixed 1, 2, 3. It takes time. You need funds for that, and I don't think there's like a big allotment of funds going around.
The truth is, the MTA and New York City and the rest of the world are all ill-prepared to deal with the repercussions of climate change. Nobody quite knows what to expect.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
The flooding seemed to catch commuters by surprise this morning as they pushed on.
This footage, courtesy of CBS News Path, shows the devastation that flooding, repeated flooding, a pattern of flooding, has caused in New York City.
The deluge not only shut down major streets, including this one that cuts across Central Park, it also poured into the city's subway system, causing real disruption. Subway stairs and tunnel walls became waterfalls. At LaGuardia Airport, one terminal was swamped, forcing passengers to wade through water to get to gates.
Up until then, we really didn't care.
This is Pori Saikia, the former director of the Department of Environmental Sustainability and Compliance at the MTA. And she says it took disaster for people to sit up and take notice of climate change.
Nobody bothered because, if there is an earthquake and if there is, because of heat, some railroad lines buckle somewhere in Africa, we didn't care. We didn't care if an earthquake took away part of the transportation network in some other part of the world, in California, whether it's in China or anything, right? But till Sandy hit us, we really didn't care.
After disaster finally did strike, that's when solutions started being made, and immediately. A lot of them short-term, to keep things together in the aftermath of the storm, but a lot of them long-term. Seawalls, inflatable barriers, water pumps, reinforcing tunnels. A lot of the work became stuff that was forward-thinking, because suddenly, 100 years from now was way too soon.
So there was a bunch of mitigation measures that were implemented, that were thought of, that were identified. And we went around the world. We asked everybody at that time as to, hey, what is it that you do when you have these issues, right? And we got a lot of immediate. So we had short-term and long-term mitigation processes. Short-term was, we need to do something now, today. And long-term was, we also followed a lot of studies, especially with NOAA, with the FTA, that said, what is the possibility of another superstorm Sandy? And at that time, it was called the 100-year storm. And so we said, okay, the big damage that this big storm did, maybe we can defer it for a long-term development. But when the flooding takes place, when there's a lot of rain and water gets into the system, it's an old system. There is, we also have, our water from our underground stations go into the New York City combined sewer system. New York City combined sewer system is even older than the New York City subways. And so they have been working on it over the last 50, 60 years to make it better, to make it bigger, to make it work. But it's an extensive network. It's 10 times the size of the network more than 10 times the size of the network than that of the subway network. So the work is slow. The money, when it goes into infrastructure, and it's very political, and because you don't see this, because you don't see a building coming up, because you don't see, World Trade Center getting built, you don't see, Empire State Building getting built. So it's all underground. So what people don't see, people don't think costs money, right? So it took a long time to get that money. So after Sandy hit us, what we weren't so much into, should we do climate adaptation? It was more like get the system back online, right? So it was a mitigation issue.
And after Sandy, mitigation strategies were sorely needed. Graduate student Joseph Moses explains, in layman's terms, how Sandy and the climate interact, and what made Sandy so dangerous.
One of the issues with it was unique in the fact that it wasn't super strong. So one of the issues with it was the hurricane right up until landfall, when it became it was post-tropical, so it wasn't small anymore. Sandy was a really big storm, and as it transitioned, it became bigger, and it hit at high tide. It hit in a way that the winds were like perpendicular to the shore, so it really blew water onto the land. And it like turned itself, so it like lasted a little bit longer before it went back out.
After Sandy hit, everything started being about solutions, finding solutions, because of how completely the stations were wrecked, and beyond just the horror of like the scale of the disaster, hundreds of people dead. There needed to be work done immediately to get everything back online. That was the first priority.
I think one of the first things they did was put up the the floodgates on the big tunnels that go under the East River, I think, because the water just, rose up and poured right in because there's nothing stopping it. If you take out the subway, the city is screwed, pretty much. Like, without the subways, the city does not run. So yeah, it kind of was a really, really strange set of circumstances that are very unlikely to happen again. But because of sea level rise and climate change, the way that it kind of makes it more likely to happen again is that it takes that extreme nature away. The atmosphere is warmer, that just means it can hold more water vapor, and that gives its energy, its wind potential, its amount of rainfall, but we're also adding sea level rise. So that means that, it would have taken, this amount of flooding in Sandy to flood whatever, but now we're shifting the baseline to here. It's only, 12 years ago now, but it's enough sea level rise that it can become a problem, and the fear is 50 years from now, we might be here already, where every day could be, a foot of flooding every day. That's what's happening in South Carolina and Florida, where it's just normal tides now are what they call nuisance flooding, where streets are flooded every day.
But yeah, when it comes to rainfall flooding, yes, that hazard has been increasing.
Researcher Dr. Brian A. Cully received his master's and PhD in atmospheric sciences from the University of Washington and his BA in meteorology from Ohio University. Throughout his many decades-long career, he has published over 100 papers on his work in climate, meteorology, and high-resolution models and predictions. As part of the Coastal Meteorological and Prediction Group, COMAP, and via his other research projects, Cully continues to be an active researcher and utmost expert in coastal weather prediction for North America.
So we just got to keep track of our hazards. The largest signal of climate change for the Northeast U.S., including New York City, is in fact rainfall. That's the parameter that shows itself as having the largest change and is expected to have, even a larger change in the future, especially when it comes to extremes. And the simple reason for that, at least one basic reason for that is that because rainfall is, dependent on the amount of moisture in the air, and a warmer climate holds more moisture. And so you have an opportunity to extract more rainfall out of the cloud or the available moisture if you're in a warmer world.
Cully also knows that there's more to the storms than just rain and wind and property damage. Cully worries about the human cost of being uninformed.
These are the very heavy 3-4 inch an hour rainfall events that, end up flooding the subway. And the one with Ida unfortunately killed a number of people in Queens in the basements because they couldn't get out of harm's way and may not have gotten the information. In fact, I have a study right now with the Weather Service trying to figure out where they did get that information from for that particular day.
Now, commuters on the subways don't seem uninformed as to the danger, not really. They just don't seem to care at all. I went back to that station, Court Square and 23rd Street, where there was that wall cave-in, to talk to the people there.
No, I mean, I stay home when I know it's going to be torrential rain.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
I know
that'll
the
do
city subway is prone to flood. Yeah, and you've seen the news where you see the water is flooding down the stairs. So it doesn't make any sense to come to travel during that time and be stuck here, and I live in New Jersey.
Flooding?
Yeah.
That's commuter James A. Russian.
Personally, no, sorry. I mean, I've seen it, but
All online.
yeah.
Most hadn't experienced station flooding anywhere but online, seemingly unfazed by the idea of it, even in a station where flooding had made the news. Once, the wall of Court Square Station had caved in and nearly sent somebody sprawling into the tracks in a dangerous close call. And another time, in the same station, the walls cracked and sprayed water. Floodings are a distant anecdote, something seen on TV and online, but rarely seen through first-hand experience. That people can get hurt or be impacted by the flood seems offset by how often the trains are used and the rarity of the floods. The public's understanding of the situation seems oddly ambivalent and distant.
So
I came just to do groceries today at Trader Joe's upstairs.
That's commuter Alan Fort.
I've never seen it flood in here. It's been when it rains heavily, it gets kind of gross in here. Everything is leaking. There's a railing at the other side of the platform, right in front of a new entrance. A wall burst a while ago, and so that's why they put that gate there, because someone actually got caught in the water and almost got pushed onto the tracks. If you go, it's on the other side of the platform. On that side, there's a gate. They haven't put one up here yet, but there's just a fence there because that happened. Yeah, the wall. It was a construction wall, and the water, I guess, completely destroyed it.
The apathy of the average New York commuter towards what is possibly their own self-preservation is at once a bit funny, but it also shows an understated competence of the MTA, that none of these people are afraid. Every day, the MTA pumps out an average of 14 million gallons of water out of the train stations. And this March was one of the wettest Marches on record, and the stations didn't flood, they didn't close. Whatever the MTA is doing, however it is struggling right now, something is working. In this battle between climate change and the MTA, they're neck and neck, and so far, we're keeping our heads above water. Got it. I think that was good.